Awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to do some quick intros, but I feel like you know Mr. Cuevas really, really well. So Tim Cuevas, he's over here on my screen, which is why I'm doing this. He is your advocate. So at this point, I think you probably know him very well. I'm Amanda Novak. I'm the high school assistant principal. I'm assuming you know me at this point as well. The new face tonight and the person that you're going to want to get to know before the trip is Luke Mueller. Am I saying that right? Your last name right? Mueller. I grew up with a best friend with the last name Mueller, but my mom's maiden name is Mueller, and everybody confused us, so I always have to check. I
Well,
was
I
Mueller.
appreciate you being sensitive to it. Yes, there is frequently confusion.
Yes, and Luke is our partner with Walking Tree, and he is a wealth of knowledge. And he's worked with us for now 4 or 5 years, and so every trip we've run with Luke, and they have been super successful. And I trust him with our students and with you guys very, very much. I trust him with these trips and the planning, and there's a reason why we have stuck with Walking Tree all these years. So I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of background first. And then I'm going to share my screen and show you the Walking Tree website, as well as our specific proposal and like our itinerary and where we are planning to go. And then I think when we get down to some like specifics and some details, I'm going to turn it over to Luke, who has a lot of the knowledge. And that I have some, and he has all of it. And if we have time, I would love to show the video. We got a video that sort of shows what the Thailand trip is going to be like. And it's amazing. I was able to watch most of it today. Give me a thumbs up emoji or a real thumbs up if your screen is on, if you watched that video today. Cool. So some people have watched that. That's awesome. I love that. Little background about like what we're doing and why. So forget like, I mean, let's pretend that like COVID wasn't a thing, right? Like, let's go back a year ago. Every year we ran service learning trips. And the reason is just give you like pull out really far and do like the wide scope of why we do what we do. We are a whole child education school. And for those of you that don't know, I'm the director of whole child education, and it's something that is absolutely core to who we are. And the three pillars that we have are mind, body, and community. And under that community pillar is our service learning program. And so for those of you that have been at Westgate a long time, you might know that we start service at kindergarten. And the first thing that you might see with service learning at kindergarten is that our kindergartners love to take care of our grounds outside. They help pick up trash out there. They help with the animals that we have. And then as we grow in grade levels, we also grow in distance. So some of our older students start to, pick up waste on Washington Street, which we've adopted. And then we get a little further out and we continue just to kind of build outward in our service. And then by the time we get to high school, we take our freshmen, and a lot of you guys experience this on just like a 1 to 2 day trip, right? Just they come to school, then they go on a field trip somewhere local, and they provide service to a partnership or organization that's near and dear to Thornton, Colorado. And then when they're sophomores, which I know that you guys, because of COVID, missed out on, we go to somewhere a little further away in Colorado. And then junior year, again, COVID put a real wrench in everything. Normally, we go to Taos, New Mexico, and work with Habitat for Humanity. But by senior year, we build, right? We build and we build, and we take this international trip. To fulfill our mission of whole child education through service, international service, and B, to provide an experience for our students, which allows us to experience the world, experience culture, learn new things. And that is something that's really near and dear to our hearts. And I want you all to know that I'm truly sorry that the last couple of years we haven't had those experiences. It has been, this year and last year have been difficult, and I know that is like leaving a hole, like not going to Habitat is a hole. But I could not be more excited to be talking about next year's international senior trip to Thailand. And I think that we get to talk about that with you guys tonight is just like filling me up so much, because it's been that difficult year. And I think Luke and Tim probably feel the same way, that we get to do this, and then we get to talk about it, and then we get to move forward and have our senior trip next year. So we have done 3 trips in the past, because we weren't able to go last year. And so before that, we went to Costa Rica. Luke, if I say something wrong here, I know you know more than me, so let me know. But we went to Costa Rica our first year, and we were in the rainforest, right? We were doing rainforest conservation.
Precisely, yeah. If I remember correctly, you guys stayed a time on an organic farm, kind of deep in the rainforest, and we're working on a variety of conservation efforts. That was in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, and then came Belize, and then Puerto Rico most recently in 2019.
Exactly. And in Belize, they stayed at Ecomar, which is a research station, and they worked with manatees, right?
Yeah.
And then
cows, as they're also known.
Yes, exactly. And then we went to Puerto Rico, and we did hurricane relief there, which was a really, timely effort. And so we like to include the voices of our students in what type of service we're going to provide, and where and why. And Mr. Cuevas, spent time with the juniors, really talking about that. And so this year, I'm really excited to announce, although Mr. Cuevas already has, but to reiterate that we've chosen to travel to Thailand in 2022 as your guys' senior trip. And so I'm going to share my screen and show you a little bit about Walking Tree. All right, are you guys, this is like the thing we say this year, right? Thumbs up if you can see the Walking Tree website. I have 2 screens, so I always get really confused if you're seeing like my 1 screen or 2 screens. Okay, cool. So I wanted to bring this up to show you specifically that Walking Tree's mission is to inspire students to become curious and compassionate global citizens by taking an active interest in the world around them. Our programs are designed for a community of travelers who seek an authentic, safe, and engaging international experience, while providing the opportunity to cultivate positive, sustainable change worldwide. And I don't know, I've done these meetings for various years, and I haven't ever actually read that mission out to parents. Luke probably has, but it resonates with me so much, because that is exactly what we've accomplished through every trip we've taken with Walking Tree. It has been so successful, so safe, so positive. And I really appreciate that our partnership with Walking Tree has been all of those things. And I'm really excited for the trip to come. So I wanted to show you, Luke, do you want me to go ahead and like show the itinerary, or do you want to jump in here and sort of share a little bit about?
Yeah, I could do it, Amanda. Is it possible for me to share my screen as well? Let me see here, and then I can.
Yep. I think if I stop, you can start.
You can share as well. Okay, beautiful. So give me a second here. Okay. All right. Can everybody see my screen? All right, very good. So yeah, thank you all, and Amanda, for the kind introduction. I echo everybody's sentiments this evening. I've dealt for the last 15 months with disappointed families and parents and canceled travel, and it's truly invigorating to be talking about this program in particular for you guys. So we're really proud of our relationship with Westgate. As Amanda referenced, we have the 3 programs with you guys. We ourselves are a local Denver company. I helped found Walking Tree in 2006 with 2 childhood friends of mine. We went together throughout high school. And so it's really special to kind of run a really meaningful business with my really close friends. And kind of at the core of our ethos, of our philosophy of travel, is this idea that international travel particularly can be transformative, particularly for young people. And we find that 9 out of 10 times when we put students in authentic cultural situations, they thrive. And they discover things about themselves they maybe weren't aware of, or they find a resourcefulness there. They come back with more confidence and just more self-assured. So all of us who have traveled internationally know that leaving your own environment has so many benefits if you're open to them, right? And we put students in as many situations as possible to get the most out of these trips. And Thailand, the elephants, the people of Thailand, like they do the work, right? We're there to facilitate, make sure that you guys are safe and that things work as they should, that parents at home stay well informed. So again, thank you for coming out tonight. It's exciting to be with you. What we've done is put together this webpage, and this is in an attempt to get all of you as informed as possible about the upcoming adventure. And I'm glad that Tim was able to send around the video. I think that does do a good job of highlighting many of the experiences you guys are going to have. The trip was a little bit different on the video. That was a 21-day trip, so a 3-week experience about 6 years ago now in 2000 or 2015. But nonetheless, our partners are the same, our leaders are the same, the bus driver is the same guy, like our infrastructure hasn't changed at all. And so you guys can expect a very comparable experience. I'll just point out a few things at the top of the page here. First is this note that in light of COVID, in light of the pandemic, we're guaranteeing a 100% refund of all program tuition payments, so long as the people cancel before 120 days from travel, right? So that means that you can sign up anytime before August 31st. That's when this ends. But if you sign up before the end of summer, you can have the peace of mind that your investment is protected, so long as that you pull out before 120 days. We hope that you don't. We think that the COVID situation and the global scenario is only improving, and we're making we're going all in on that idea and thinking that travel is going to be safe and meaningful again in 2022. But I did want to highlight this for people. The dates we are eyeing, this lines up with Westgate's calendar. I think it's right before graduation. Yeah. In between some tests, there was a lot going on, but this is the window I know that we have. And so these are pretty much the dates that we have to work with. We told the airlines that we would have 1 day of flexibility just to cast a little bit wider of a net. So if they come back to us with a fare from May 11 to May 23, that's something that we'll consider and that we'll run by Tim and Amanda. But this is very much the window that we're eyeing. You see Tim and Amanda's information here. This is my email. Feel free to write me anytime. The program tuition is $2,690. This is all inclusive, right, for everything on the ground. So you're talking 3 meals a day, talking all the group activities, the donations that we make to the different projects and the service projects that we'll be completing on program, the leadership team, all the in-country transportation, accommodations. I mean, literally your students could get on the plane without a penny in their pocket and be able to participate in every aspect of the program. Obviously, the shopping in Thailand, like the artisanal goods, are phenomenal, world class. And so it's not that we don't recommend students bring spending money; they should. But know that everything is built in. Drinking water, right? Taxes, tips. There's nothing that you have to go into pocket for to experience the most of the program. The airfare is separate from the program tuition. This right now has been requested. The way that we handle airfare is that we work with group contracts across different airlines, right? So we'll survey 5 different airlines, say these are our dates, our itinerary, we need X number of seats, and they get back to us with offers. The reason a group contract is advantageous in this case is it allows us to secure a set fare and a set itinerary at an early juncture. And that's not to say that that price can't get better, but we like to have the option in our back pocket always. So you'll hear from us as if you sign up for this trip, and as we draw closer to travel, you'll get updates from us about how the airfare situation is looking. But we handle all the ticketing, we handle all the booking. You guys just show up at the airport with your passport and get on the plane, and all is good. So we can certainly talk more about that if people have questions. A final thing up top here is we are offering $100 off if you sign up before June the 15th. So the way that you sign up is through one of these 2 yellow options here. And sorry for this green thing. This just shows here because I'm logged in as an administrator. In any event, you can pay for the program in full up front at one time, and then the airfare comes due about 75 days prior to departure, or you can pay a $500 deposit, right? So you pay a $500 deposit at the time of enrollment, and then the rest of that balance is broken up into monthly installments. So at this date, that's about $219 a month if you were to sign up for this program, 12 months out from travel, which is what we are today. And again, just to highlight again, if you sign up, that money is guaranteed refunded up until 120 days. Now, the one asterisk here, and I should say this, is that the one part we can't refund is the credit card fees. When you guys pay us online with a credit card, the processor takes 3% of that fee. So it was just too long to write in our, but essentially the 3% from the credit card fees is the one piece that we can't refund. But all the rest of the money is refundable. As we come a little bit further down the page, there's a photo gallery here that people can click through. Thailand is amazingly photogenic, so I'd encourage people to check this out. We traveled to 22 countries across 5 different continents, and Thailand not only is it one of the more popular destinations, but it's known for its hospitality, for its natural beauty, for the food. There are so many amazing reasons to visit Thailand, and so I'm glad that this was the class's decision, and really appreciate the fact that you guys took the student travelers considerations into mind. I think that's vitally important. As you come down more here, you can read some just kind of quick, succinct highlights of stuff you'll be doing. But as you get further down, you get to the itinerary itself. And so what I wanted to do here is just give people a brief overview of what we can expect on this 10-day trip, 12-day trip, excuse me. To give people some geographic context, I'll flip over to the map here. So Bangkok, right? We're going to fly into and out of Bangkok. So the most likely scenario, we'll see you guys leaving mid-afternoon, early evening from Denver, possibly a little bit later, sleeping on the plane and arriving in Bangkok the next calendar day, right? When you get off the plane in Bangkok, it's crazy because the humidity, the heat, all of it just hits you in the face like you walked into a sauna. So that's the first thing you'll notice is when you exit the air-conditioned airport. The sounds, the noises, the taxi drivers trying to get your attention, it's chaotic, but it's amazing, and you'll slowly adjust to the pace of this big city. But we have a couple of days in Bangkok, so I'm glad we get to see like some really important temples. We get to go to a big open air market, which is really cool. Students will get to see some of the really exotic things on sale at these markets. We'll do a river cruise here. Like they have these floating canals, not unlike Venice or parts of Mexico City, if maybe some of you guys have been there. We'll go to a big flower market. So we're seeing the sites in Bangkok. There's a lot to do. You know, this first day we do give students a few hours to relax and to kind of decompress from the travel. But usually the best strategy is to hit the ground running and to let students like go to sleep at the local hour that night, and that's the quickest way to catch up. So we'll be in a guest house here, well located in the city. We do provide the websites of the places that we'll be staying, so people can come down here to the accommodation section and check out the guest house in Bangkok, as well as the Elephant Haven, excuse me, and the Kuriburi resort that we'll be visiting. So after a couple of days in the big city, we're off to the national park, which is Salak Pra, and that is here. Right, so we're looking at about a 3-hour drive to the foot of this national park, and this was highlighted on the video. You will do a group homestay here, which is really cool. So rather than students being placed individually or in pairs in homestays, the group will be in one family house. It's more like a family compound, but it's cozy. The family is super sweet. They got a bunch of kids. It's multi-generational, so you have like grandpa and their kids and grandkids, and so there's a lot of people, but it's very friendly, very welcoming. You get home cooked meals right off the bat, which is a huge plus. And it's a little peek into what life is like in kind of more rural parts of Thailand. But really, really cozy. Like I said, the rooms are screened in, the beds are netted, so you don't have to worry about things like that. And again, we're providing clean drinking water and making sure food is clean throughout the trip, right? The highlight here is going to be working with elephants who have essentially left the tourism circuit in Thailand, right? So as many of you probably know, elephants are a big draw in Thailand, and much of the tourism is not animal friendly, and that's putting it kindly. So this first reserve that you guys will be visiting is a place that essentially rehabilitates elephants that have exited this circuit of tourism and are getting back to the wild. They're rewilding the elements. So it's pretty phenomenal. You'll also get to do a tree planting exercise with some local kids. Again, like reforestation is a really big theme in the national park, and so planting trees is something we try and accomplish on a lot of trips where we are cognizant of all the carbon that we're spitting in the air on these long flights, and so we try and offset that as best we can with activities such as this. And the next night, and if you guys haven't seen the video, this is a highlight of it, was when the kids are staying on a houseboat. This is super cool. You're in another part of the national park, a place called Sayok, and here you spend the night on this floating houseboat. It's incredible, and there's like these cascading waterfalls, and you eat like on the banks of these beautiful tropical rivers. So this is always a continual highlight for groups that get to have enough time to do this particular exercise. After that, there's more elephant work. Here, you guys will be meeting with kind of a live herd, right? So rather than ones that are just being reintroduced to the wild, this is a sanctuary that works with wild elephants. And one of the focuses here in the national park will be building a chalk dam. And again, the video highlights this, but this is like an effort of both the Thai military and the civilian government in the area, and our students come together and provide kind of the manual labor, and we build these man-made watering holes essentially. which are there for the elephants. So that's a really engaging service project, and one that I think is a good kind of change of pace, right, from everything else that we've been doing. Being able to work with community members, again, is something that we really emphasize in all of our programs. And this is a local effort that people have put a lot of work into throughout a lot of years. And so we know it's important, and we're happy to contribute. So it's an amazing day, guys. I mean, you guys, amazing trip, excuse me. You get to do a lot of phenomenal things in a relatively short amount of time. So this is the national park that we'll visit first, and then Kanchanaburi province, which is about 3 hours from Thailand. Then we got a 4-hour trip. We go down to Kuriburi, and that's where I was mentioning the wild elephants as well as the chalk dam, and then we'll be back in Bangkok. So that's kind of the loop that we're doing here throughout the program. I mentioned the accommodations section down here at the bottom. Feel free to check those websites out on program. Here's some of the things that you guys can expect on program. We kind of went over the payment options up top. There's some more fundraising information down below. Our staff is online 24 hours a day when programs are overseas, right? So we're located here in Denver. Our offices are open 24 hours a day when programs are traveling. And you can also have the ability to reach out to your students on program as the trip is unfolding. Another responsibility of the program leaders who will accompany the group. So we envision a group of roughly 12 to 15 travelers from Westgate, in addition to Tim and one other faculty member, and then at least one walk and tree leader, possibly two. And those people are there to make sure logistically everything goes really well. And they're also there to keep you as families informed, right? So you guys can expect regular blog updates from us. Those are emails to your inbox that just let you know that the Westgate group has posted a blog. You follow that, takes you to the website, and there you'll have photos and video and written updates from the kids. So it's a really nice way for moms and dads to kind of, vicariously track the progress of the program as it's unfolding. We've been traveling in Thailand since 2014, so all these partners have been highly vetted, and we've used them many times. One thing that unfortunately is no longer true, but was for 4 years, is that we were the official partner for the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. So we did all of their high school international travel, and that was amazing for us to be in a partnership with this really kind of esteemed federal institution. Was amazing, but the pandemic brought that to the end, and so I can no longer say that is current, but it did happen for 4 years. They chose us, and so we're still proud of it. And the Smithsonian did a lot to fortify just our best business practices and make sure that we were checking all the boxes when it comes to this kind of student travel. I talked a little bit about our expert leadership, but you guys will have 1 or 2 leaders on the program. We'll make sure you're introduced to them before you go. The leader may be Thai. The leader may be an American expat who has lived in Thailand for an extended period and knows the country and speaks the language. So you'll meet that person ahead of time, and I'll be in kind of conference with him and Amanda to talk about what personality types and boy or girl, like man or woman, those sorts of considerations which we want the school's input on. This will be only for Westgate, right? So we're not combining you guys with a different group from a different school. This program is going to be exclusive to Westgate students and faculty. We do make some curriculum support available. I know that this is a big kind of cornerstone of what Westgate does as well, so this would be supplementary to that, and 100% at your discretion. You can do it or not, but we do send out some materials that hopefully get you just a bit prepared and in a better mindset for some of the stuff that you'll be doing on the trip. And then again, I talked about the all-inclusive pricing. This is one thing that in all honesty does distinguish us. I realize that this is an expensive trip, like any way you cut it, any way that I sell it to you, it is a lot of money to dedicate to this. But most companies, once you're there, will say, okay, let's go kayaking, but that's for $150, or what, like lunches aren't included, and everybody's got to shell out for lunch, or the bus driver needs a tip, and so everybody kick in 20. And that's oftentimes how these programs work, and that's not the case with us. I'm also more than happy to provide references on request. Amanda had really nice things to say about Walk and Tree at the beginning of this, which I'm grateful for. But if anyone wants to speak directly with a family who has traveled with us, let me know, and I'm happy to provide that. Again, just kind of reiterating the stuff that's included here. Drinking water is important in Thailand. It's hot, it's humid, we're active each and every day, so students will be sweating and drinking a lot of water, and we make sure that that's provided in ample quantities. This is the fundraising opportunity here. So if students are interested in fundraising outside of any efforts they have ongoing at school, they can check out this opportunity to sell coffee, really good coffee. And then finally, there's a lot more information on what we call the post-enrollment page. And so I want to be sensitive to people's time here. I'll open it up to Q&A in 1 second. But if you enroll, you'll begin consulting what we call the post-enrollment page, right? We were just on the pre-enrollment. This is now the post-enrollment. It's a lot of the same information, but also quite a bit more. So here's where we'll have your group flight information. Here's where we'll tell you a bit more about the projects that you'll be working on in detail. Here's where we'll talk about your leadership team. So Prey, she's our country director. She is Thai. She lives in Bangkok. She does a lot of our itinerary design and all of the logistical setup like ahead of arrival. And it's great because Prey is educated in the U.S. She went to college in Bowdoin. They're in Maine, so she really, I think, understands the American traveler's mindset, and she straddles the two worlds very, very well. And here I am, my main responsibility is just to get you guys as prepared as possible before travel. And then once we have the leader assigned to the trip, he or she will appear here as well. As people sign up, they'll show up on a group roster, so you'll be able to kind of track who's enrolled on the program. We talk a lot about health and safety. In the time of COVID, we still direct people to the CDC. To speak about COVID directly, we do have an FAQ page here, which was updated a little bit earlier in the month. And so to talk kind of briefly about this, I think it's hard. I could spend a lot of time talking about what the reality is now, but you guys aren't traveling for 12 months. And so the reality that we discussed today may not be the reality in a year's time. So maybe we'll just leave this open to questions. But suffice it to say that we brought a group back from the Galapagos Islands a couple of weeks now ago. They had to get negative COVID tests before arriving in Ecuador, negative COVID tests before leaving Ecuador. We wore masks when it was appropriate. We social distanced whenever possible. All of our transport in country is 100% chartered, right? You guys aren't on public transportation. I mean, pre-pandemic, we would have considered such things, but not in the time of COVID. So, policies are in place to mitigate risk, and we can certainly talk more about COVID considerations if people want. A couple more things here. We have a standards of behavior. This, of course, is going to align very closely with Westgate's expectations for travelers. The things that you would assume, right? Drugs, alcohol, zero tolerance policy, kids go home the next day, and such things occur. Again, 3 years with Westgate, we've never had an issue. So this is just here because it has to be, as well as some other stuff. So people can, when you sign up, you adhere to these, you check this box. And so you're able to read those in more detail if you like. We will put up a packing list. So this is already here. So this has been tailored to Thailand. It's pretty general. You guys know yourselves better than we do. So, it's a bit preemptive to get in the packing list now, but know that it's here. I talked a little bit about the blog while on program. So this is what people can expect while the trip is actually unfolding. Travel insurance is something that we really, recommend. Even with our guarantee, you guys are good, except for that 3% credit card fee up until 120 days. But within the 120 days, our standard refund policy begins to apply. So the $500 deposit becomes non-refundable at that 119th day. And then as you move closer to travel, a larger percentage of your tuition is non-refundable. So we do think that insurance continues to be like a really prudent option for families to consider. You can buy insurance that insures you against the tuition, like what you've paid walk entry in case you decide you want to pull out inside those 120 days, or you can buy a policy that just gives you insurance while you're in Thailand. So it gives you enhanced medical stuff, repatriation, all sorts of comprehensive medical care while overseas. And those insurance policies are actually quite cheap, $39, $40 if you're coming from Colorado. If you're insuring the cost of the tuition, it's usually about 5% of what you're paying. So a couple $100 roughly, if you're looking to insure the cost of the entire trip. Talked a bit about the fundraising, but people can read more here. And then finally, we mentioned that GLC curriculum. So it's called the Global Leadership Curriculum, and people can check out that information online if they're so interested. So, I'm gonna stop sharing. So Amanda, Tim, I don't know if you guys want to jump in and say anything, or if we just want to roll into questions.
I think one of the only things I will add, that was a lot of information and awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, so
Drinking
good.
Fire
I was dreaming of this trip. I was like, this is going to be amazing. You took me there. wanted to add about fundraising. So Luke mentioned, the coffee sales. Aside from anything we're doing at Westgate, I just wanted to mention we will do whatever the students want to do at Westgate as well. So though you go through Walking Tree, like for the financial, like you register, you pay Walking Tree directly. We can still do group fundraisers at Westgate, and then we can make group payments to Walking Tree that will be like evenly dispersed. Luke, is that how that works? You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, that'll be fine.
Yeah. So we could do, some big event, and we make however much money, and then we can just do a bulk payment into Walking Tree that will get distributed to each student that's registered. So we're happy to and excited to pursue all of those avenues as well here, alongside the coffee. So just wanted you guys to know that's an option, and we can talk more about that. Tim, do you have anything else to add before we open it up to questions?
I don't think I have anything in particular. I know something that I noted is like, this is of the service trips, this is one of the most like hands-on. We're out meeting the people, doing the things, which I'm really excited for. I know me getting out in the heat is a little bit of a like iffy thing, but just, I am a cold weather person. But it does look like pretty much every place we stay in the evening has like opportunities for air conditioning. Like Luke said, we do have access to any water we need. Um, Oh, I did have one question that Luke, I think you might be able to help with. How do we historically deal with food allergies? So, for instance, I know Thai cuisine can be peanut heavy. So, for students with, say, peanut allergies, how have we handled that in the past?
Yeah, good question, Tim. So when families enroll with us, they have a chance to lay out all of their dietary restrictions as well as medical prescriptions or any issues they're dealing with physically, psychologically, or dietarily, if dietarily were a word. So full disclosure is really important, right? As long as people are upfront with us and really honest about what the traveler needs, then we can meet those expectations. So, having traveled to Thailand for 6 years now, we've encountered most allergies and most dietary preferences, and I'm confident that we can navigate those safely. We will travel with a really thoroughly prepared med kit, but they don't have EpiPens, or they don't currently have EpiPens. And so if people do have a threat of anaphylactic, shock, or if an EpiPen is a good idea for you, please think about bringing one. But yeah, in terms of dietary stuff, we can handle that as long as people let us know ahead of time.
Awesome. I think it'd be okay to open it up to questions that you all have. And so feel free to type it in the chat, or you can unmute and share as well. I think we have a question. I was unsure about it though. Zach, do you?
The Muay Thai.
Muay Thai.
Zach,
Yeah.
Zach,
Could I just walk in? Oh.
No, please go ahead.
I was gonna ask what the situation would be with like just maybe walking into one of the gyms and like training. Would that be a possibility?
Oh man, I love
I'm
where
pretty
your head
sure.
is right now. It's cool.
Yeah, I mean, as a cage fighter, I'm pretty excited for that.
Nice. So I'm going to stop short tonight of promising you that you can train in a Muay Thai gym in Thailand. We have taken groups to fights. It's been in Chiang Mai, so it's in a larger city that you guys aren't visiting because your trip isn't quite long enough. But I know for a fact that has happened. At this stage, it's just too hard to say. If the opportunity were to present itself, or maybe, who knows, maybe we encounter like a bus driver or somebody along the way that knows a little Muay Thai, and you guys can like kick a banana tree a few times. Or
That was another thing, is shin conditioning.
Yeah, exactly. So let's revisit that as we get closer to travel.
All right.
Cool. Thanks for flagging it though.
All right, I'm going to read off a couple that we're getting. How do we access this schedule after this? So we will send out this link, and so all of this is we have this is our Westgate itinerary and proposal and all the things. So we will send you this link. It has everything that Luke just talked about. We will make sure to send. Actually, we can just send it in this chat as well right now, as well as a follow-up email. I can send that in a minute, unless Luke, if you want to copy it into the chat box.
Sure. Yeah, my pleasure.
And then the next question was immunizations and what types of immunizations are required or recommended.
Yeah, so we'll be sure to keep you guys updated as travel draws near. Right now for Thailand, the first thing to say is like consult your doctor, right? Like talk to your physician, talk to a travel clinic about your trip because they're the experts. But in terms of what's required to get in the country, nothing is required. Although again, this is with a big asterisk in the times of COVID, right? Currently, nothing is required in terms of vaccinations. But what is prudent in our estimation is malaria pills, going to be yellow fever, hepatitis A, and then again, I talked a little bit about the screening and the nets. We're really like cognizant about the threat of mosquitoes, and so that's something that we work to mitigate as best we can. But that'll be on the packing list as well. We'll talk about the importance of wearing lightweight, like long clothing, both top and bottom in those dusk and dawn hours when the bugs are most active. But those are the four things that I would highlight, right? Malaria, yellow fever, Hep A, and did I say typhoid stuff?
Then we have the question there, are the dates set? This being the 10th to the 22nd.
Pretty close, right?
It sounded pretty close. I saw you mentioned earlier there was kind of a day of wiggle where we could potentially do the 11th to the 23rd, and that would be okay. And I saw Ms. Novak put in the chat that currently FRCC next year is set to be done on the 9th. So they would end on the 9th. We would leave on the 10th or potentially the 11th. And then we would get back the 22nd or 23rd, which would be in time for graduation on the 24th. So my impression was it wasn't set in stone, but it's not going to be outside of that window.
And I want to clarify too, and just be transparent about this. I am not sure right now when the Front Range graduation is scheduled for. I know the last day of classes is May 9th, 2022. If you are planning to earn your associate's degree and you want to attend the Front Range graduation at that time, I can find that date for you pretty easily, but right now I don't know what it is. And so it's possible that it falls within this time frame. It is always a tricky thing. We have to travel prior to Westgate's graduation. So it's always tricky, fitting it in between Front Range and our graduation. And so I will look into that, but I just want to be transparent about that. Not everybody that earns their associates have historically walked at the Front Range graduation or want to or plan to. So if that's a situation that you find yourself in, if you plan to graduate with your associate's degree and you are interested in walking, go ahead and contact me or Mr. Cuevas directly, and we can let you know before you register what that looks like.
Then we have the question, I understand the refunds before 120 days, but what happens if there's something similar to the COVID pandemic within 120 days that would cause the trip to be canceled or travel couldn't be made to Thailand because of it?
Good question. So if we're within that 120 days, well, what I can say is that the way that we handled this year, when we had people signed up and they were ready to go and then suddenly the world shut down, right? We were able to refund all of the money except that $500 deposit. And this was for groups as close that were supposed to leave in like a week or 10 days, right? So that's the max amount of money that we kept from people. So that was the option A was withdrawing, was saying, I don't want to travel anymore. And you lose everything but the $500 if you're within the 120 days. Option B is to roll your enrollment over, right? So to take that enrollment and say, all right, I'm going to travel next year. I understand that may not be a possibility here as you guys begin to branch off in different directions. And so this is really where I would say the travel insurance is a good idea, because that travel insurance would cover you within those 120 days. The product that we highlight on our website is called Cancel for Any Reason. And this means literally any reason, including COVID, you can walk away so long as it's 48 hours before departure and you get 85% of your money back. So it doesn't insure 100%, but it's about as good as you're going to find on the insurance market. So that's the answer as I envision it today, 12 months from travel.
Thank you, Luke. Next one we've got is there any kind of emergency plan if something happens like when people were stuck in other countries during COVID or at the beginning of COVID?
Yeah, so we do have contingency plans. We partner with an organization called SOS, which does provide like emergency evacuation should that be necessary. Knock on wood, we've never had to use that since running these trips, but that's something that's always in our back pocket. It's a really difficult hypothetical to answer in totality, but I can say that we almost had a group. We were a day away from having a group in Peru when Peru shut down. And Peru shut down with giving people in country like 24-hour notice. Like, it was awful. People were stuck there for months. And I think our responsibility in that case would be to put the group up and to make sure the group is safe until we can go home. So that's like the simple answer. We would make sure that everyone was safe and fed and housed, and we would be in regular contact with families, with the U.S. Embassy. Again, like we think that the world will be in a very different place in May of 2022. By that point, those people who want vaccinations, even about the age group that we're talking about, can have vaccinations, and if not, we can deploy all of those mitigation practices that we talked about. And again, this is just, it's going to be an evolving conversation, this one about health and risk and what happens on the ground. But in worst case scenario is that, that we are, our program gets longer and maybe we end up staying like at a hotel for like whatever needs to happen will happen, and we'll keep your kids safe. And that's why we have insurance as a travel company for those sorts of, what do they call them in the industry? Act of God sorts of scenarios. So there are things that can be done, but I don't know too intimately the process because it's never happened, thankfully.
I'd love to get stuck in Thailand for a couple months.
Then we have a question for each. This one feels like a math problem. For each month one might wait to enroll, how much more expensive does it get?
Sorry, say that again?
So for each month one might wait to enroll, how much more expensive does it get? So I think
that is totally a math question. Yeah.
Mr. Cuevas,
I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, Mr. Cuevas.
We can figure that one out for sure. But there isn't any like additional price added if you don't pay a year ahead.
No.
Okay.
No. It's just that remaining balance after the 500 just goes up incrementally every month that you wait.
Got it. We could totally work out the month by month thing in class if we wanted, though. I can come up with that info later.
And I just put the link in there. Luke, you just might want to confirm that I put the right link in there, but I think that's the right link. Luke was answering all the questions. So that should be, Mr. Cuevas, I'm sure you can send out maybe a follow-up email as well with that link and all the information that Luke just went over. And then, yes, so the question now is, not sure if we already talked about it, but will we be able to go to a market or get street food or things like that? And I don't know if we talked directly about it, but I did see something like that on the itinerary.
Yeah. We definitely go to a market, numerous markets actually, and street food. Like, we don't just cut you guys loose in the heart of Bangkok with 300 baht and say, go buy, the most interesting thing you see. So it's like, it's within reason. We visit vendors that we've taken groups to before, and we know like cook clean food. But yeah, absolutely, you guys will have a chance to like sit on tiny little plastic stools and have a hot bowl of noodles in front of you and just it's great.
Have you ever dealt with situations like illnesses, malaria, etc.?
Never had a student come down with malaria. We have that we're aware of, possibly post-program, but we've never been informed. We traveled to West Africa as well, where malaria is endemic, and we've been fortunate. Like, typically, I think as long as people take the prophylactic and have the right medication, then it shouldn't be an issue. Of those pills available, Malarone is my personal preference. It's the one slightly more expensive per pill. Doxycycline is kind of like the broader option for people, and that's you have to take before arrival, while you're in country, and then after you get home. Whereas Malarone is just for when you're in the target area. So just for those 10 days while you're in Thailand.
Any other questions? You guys are asking great questions. And I want you to know too, that if we like end this meeting in a couple minutes and you come up with a question, feel free to email and ask. You can email Mr. Cuevas or myself. Luke, should they reach out to you through us, or do you want
my email is on the webpage as well. So reach out directly.
Awesome. Yeah, so lots of different ways to reach out if you have any lingering questions or anything comes to you in the middle of the night, like you can definitely ask. And you know, I'm glad that you guys were able to log in tonight. I know it feels maybe a little bit early, but we're talking a year, you know, it's going to come up. And so I'm excited that we're able to have this meeting right now and really kind of get the ball rolling. Anything else? It does sound like fun. It does. I want to go. Maybe I'll go. Mr. Cuevas, can I go?
There's this.
Yeah, we will take you by all means.
There's this type of. There's a type of fruit there. I think it's called a longan. Is that what it's called? I don't know. But the flavor is. I've heard it be described as like a combination between a pineapple and a grape. Apparently, it's really good. But I'm kind of excited to try that.
Oh, I love it, man. Yeah, the food is a highlight on this trip. We often will stop at roadside vendors that sell fruit. Again, places that we've taken groups before, and just buy bags of stuff you guys I have never seen before or heard of, and try new exotic things. It's one of the blessings of traveling in the tropics. The fruit is just spectacular.
May is the best time for sweet mango.
Sweet mango, yes. The sweet mango, the sticky rice. Mango sticky rice.
Mango and sticky rice is the same price as a dish of dinner.
Yeah, delicious.
Fantastic. I see the question there. Oh, I just lost it. Do we know how many students? My understanding is as people sign up, we'll start getting an idea of an estimate. But can you remind me, Luke or Amanda, do we kind of have a window as far as our prices set? This is if how many students go?
Yeah, so we need a minimum of 8 students to enroll in order for this trip to happen. If it dropped below 8 students, then we'd have to recalibrate things. But that price is not going to fluctuate. So that's the answer.
And I have typed up an email and attached the itinerary. So as soon as we're done, I'll send that out. Once I have the video uploaded for the recording of this meeting, I will also let people know where they can find that. But yeah, it's becoming real. Info will all be available.
All right. Well, once again, thank you guys for joining us on your Thursday evening. And I'm excited. Please reach out with questions and look forward to Mr. Cuevas' email, and we will all see you virtually, hopefully soon. Hopefully in person one day soon as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Good night.
Luke, big thank you for running this, for coming along.
Hey, no, thank you guys for the opportunity. Again, it's just so exciting.
Ms. Novak, thank you as well.
Good night.
Night, everybody.